Welcome to the Sandwich Generation Survival Guide. I am your host, Candace Dellacona, and I am pleased to announce Katie Schumacher, who is here from Don't Press Send, an organization she founded. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you for having me. I love the title.
Oh, thank you. Well, as a fellow Sandwich Generation member, I'm glad you can appreciate it. We're so happy to have you here today to talk to us about responsible internet usage and what we can do to advocate for our children and teach them the way to go. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Katie, where you came from and how you came up with this amazing platform that has really taken the country by storm?
Thank you. I started the program just about 10 years ago now. And when I was going to my children's open school night when they were entering middle school, this was 2014, and the principal was talking about all the problems that the phones were bringing into the school, from education to emotional pain that it's causing the children, the exclusion, the leaving out, the sending pictures without clothing on, all of those things. And I walked up to her after and I said, look, we're the first generation of parents doing this. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
That time, I had no social media. So I went home. I asked my niece to show me. At the time, it was just Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no, this is a recipe for disaster. So I have a background in teaching in classrooms, and to me, nothing matters more to me as a parent or a teacher is how kids are feeling about themselves.
Yes.
It directly impacts everything.
Yeah. That's a great point that it's not only about responsible usage, but we're really talking about the health, welfare, and safety, the mental health of our kids.
Yeah. And as we all know, when I started this and I started researching and learning more about what was going on and how it was affecting, at first, many parents were like, oh, this is no different than television. Our parents said that about television. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Right.
You don't understand what's going on. And that's where the, no pun intended, the disconnect was, that parents just thought times are changing and we have to go along with it. And we do.
Right.
Technology, my message is never that technology is bad. It's not. But it is a resource.
Right.
And it is to be used as a resource. And unfortunately, we gave children, impulsive teens by nature, as they're developing,
Sure.
advice to be impulsive with, and we were shocked they were doing it wrong.
So, how do we as parents, and I assume this is part of your campaign for Don't Press Send, how do we as parents, what are the first steps that we need to take to ensure that, look, our kids are going to use technology and social media? What are the tips that you give parents and how to do it healthily and responsibly?
Well, two things I always say.
Okay.
When I speak to the children, the students, regardless of age, from now I'm at pre-K all the way through college.
Wow.
And parents, I speak to parents and I speak to administrators and I speak to children and I speak to teachers. What I say is, until laws and policies catch up, we must give our children guidelines and strategies. And the first thing we must teach them is that the screen is an emotional disconnect. That screen is breaking down our emotional disconnect. Look, we grew up, people said unkind things to us, and we said them back.
Yes.
But we had a natural consequence because the hurt was right in front of you.
Yep.
If you said something unkind, you got a big fat knot in your stomach, and you had a natural consequence to your behavior. And you learned to pivot and say, you know what? It doesn't feel good to hurt somebody, because it doesn't. And even the ones online, when they accidentally or not purposefully put something online that hurts, humiliates, embarrasses someone, both children are hurt by that.
Sure. And you said something interesting, though, that you have to understand that when there is a screen between two people, that there's a disconnect. And so that's one of the points that you're trying to drive home with the students and the parents and the teachers, that even though you feel connected, there's actually the opposite effect happening.
And there's a high level, and I would say, and of course not across the board, that most people did not experience growing up when we grew up. There is a high level of unkindness, fear, embarrassment, harassment,
Right.
and it's just so public. So it becomes public humiliation.
Right.
And it is, if I could pinpoint one reason why this is because it's a lack of empathy. And empathy must be taught.
Yes.
It is not an innate skill. I thought it was. And we had natural experiences in our lives that taught us empathy.
And so when you're talking to students or parents or teachers, you're driving the point home that having the screen between the two parties creates a disconnect. So people are bolder and they're not really thinking as much about the consequences to what they're saying, doing, or posting because the person's not in front of them, right?
Yes, and they're not connecting to their gut. That's what empathy does.
Got it.
And when we disconnect from that gut,
Yeah.
we are less thoughtful with our words, with our actions, and we are sorry in the long run because there are ramifications for everything we choose and do in life.
So what's the tip that you give to the parents and the students and the
I teach
teachers?
children I actually give them an exercise. I tell them to close their eyes and put their hand on their stomach. And I tell them to say, close your eyes and imagine a time in your life where you were super proud of yourself.
Right.
And it could be you picked up someone's book because it dropped. It could be you got the winning goal in a game. It could be someone complimented you, something that made you feel really proud. And I have them, what does that feel like in your gut? That's pride, right? Now I say, now think of a time in your life where you regretted how you acted, what you said, what you did, something you posted. You regretted that. What does that feel like? That is what you have to get in touch with before you press that send button. You have to ask yourself, how would that make me feel if I received it? That's empathy.
Yes.
Put a picture of someone else doing something that you would be embarrassed of. You have to get connected to that.
Yeah. That's
It's
a great
more
exercise.
compass. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't steer us wrong. We all did it. And then we're like,
Yeah.
well, why'd I do that? I knew it. I felt it in my gut and I ignored it.
Sure.
We don't want to teach our children to ignore that.
Yeah. That's a lesson that's universal, right? Where
Yeah.
even just taking a breath and thinking about what you're saying or posting, as you say, before you press send.
Or responding to anything. I always tell them, you get a text or a picture or a video or something, you don't have to respond at all.
Great.
This is not mandatory.
Yes. I mean, we could say that to adults too, Katie, right?
Everything that I say, believe me, what my favorite presentation is the parent presentation because they're modeling some really unhealthy behavior
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
for children, we know we could say don't smoke, but if we're smoking in front of them, guess what? We're telling them
It's okay.
good for you is not good for me.
I guess what you're talking about is what you're referring to as cyber civics, right?
Well, I actually changed it this year. I changed it to digital well-being.
Digital well-being. Okay.
Digital wellness, digital well-being is that this is affecting our health. So we need to make sure, yay, part of digital health is how to conduct yourself online, which is exactly what cyber civics is.
Yes.
Being mindful, a mindful approach to social media, which is my first book, Don't Press Send, which is, okay, if we're going to be online, we have to be mindful. So that's one piece.
Yes.
The other piece is how to conduct yourself online, how to be respectful, how to take that pause, how to not respond, how to, if you're scrolling and it's not making you feel good, well, how can we take that mindful minute and re-engage and remember who are the people that should like the things we do? And that's another exercise I give them. I tell them, close your eyes right now and something really great happened in your life and you want to tell somebody. Who are the people you want to tell? So they, in their own minds, they name their people. And then I say, now you need help. You need support. You need guidance. You need advice. Who are those 5 people? That's your support group.
Right. Not
And
all, not everyone
right
who is
hundreds of thousands of friends and followers that you go to
Yeah.
follow you. Those are the people that will sustain you through your life and give you support, love, guidance, and really cheer you on.
Yeah.
Everybody can't cheer you on.
So it's taking stock of who your
Right.
people are and who's important to you.
Remember, we're adults.
Yeah.
So we understand this very clearly. But we have all got caught up in all of this. If you've ever been on social media, you know, you've said to yourself, why didn't that person like this video? Why didn't that person this?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
We had the opportunity to build a self-esteem.
Yeah.
These kids are getting knocked down every step of the way.
Yes.
They're hearing the message, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
And that is why I do what I do. We are all worthy, regardless of your GPA, the sports, the music, your clothes, whatever it is. Whatever it is that is causing children pain when they're scrolling, to
Yes.
hear the voice, I'm not good enough.
Right.
That concerns me.
Well, I took one of your courses, obviously, as a parent, a community member, and it was years ago. And I remember one of the things that you spoke about to the parents was consider what you are posting and is it boasting?
Yeah.
And I think of that all the time, Katie. And I think that a lot of our peers, you and I are sort of in the same area of like,
Thank you. I'll take that.
sandwich generation members. But really thinking about what we're posting as it relates to our own children and how that makes even our peers feel and how it makes our children feel to be quote unquote bragged about. I've seen people put their kids' GPAs on.
Oh, so have I.
Yeah.
I've seen people put their children's what do they call those?
The transcript.
Transcripts.
Yeah.
Two things. When I talk to children and we talk about pictures and videos, and I said, how many people like when your parents put a picture up of you or write something? Very few hands go up.
Wow.
How many of you don't like it? Many hands go up.
Yes.
So I tell them, you have the right to have this discussion with your parents
Yes.
and say, it makes me uncomfortable when you put that up. And I ask them, what is it you don't like about it? It makes me nervous. It makes me nervous that someone's going to make fun of it. It makes me nervous that someone's going to laugh at it or repost it.
Mm.
It makes me nervous because I feel bad for the other people who didn't make the team.
Yes. Wow. There you go. There's your empathy too, Katie.
Right.
Yeah. So we're talking about creating empathy for our kids, right?
Right.
And we're saying, don't be a bystander and stand up for people and be kind. And yet our parents are bragging about our accomplishments, perhaps to the exclusion of our kids' peers, and they're feeling empathy and we're overruling it.
And more than that, it's putting so much pressure on your children. So they made the team this year, they might not next year. They got A's this year, they might be having a really hard time next year.
Great point.
I remember when my children were applying to colleges and parents were posting the college visits. Oh, one of our top choices, Duke, or one of our, hold your roll. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
It is, especially looking at the way college admissions processes are
And
going.
by the way, your child may say, Uncle, this is too much for me. I want to stay home for a year.
Yeah.
But if you put that bar so high, they don't even think that's an option.
Yeah. Great point. Back to mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have done, I will never forget my daughter when she was, I'm going to say 4th or 5th grade. She was talking to me. She's like, well, when I go to college, whatever. And it was the first time I'm like, I was playing with Barbie dolls in 5th grade.
Right.
College did not enter my mind in 5th grade.
Right.
We are stealing their childhood. We are talking, and everything I discuss with you, I have partaked in.
Right.
I never want to seem like I'm saying, don't do this, don't do that. Because as a parent, when I read a book about parenting and someone says, you don't know my children, you don't know me, how about you talk to me as a peer? How can we do this? Right?
Yeah.
Again, I am your peer. I am through this. I'm a little past people who are just starting. So there are many skills I would give them, but one of them is constantly talk to your children about how it is affecting how they feel about themselves.
Right. Right. To your point too, Katie, and this isn't about judgment, right? We're all in this together. None of us really know what we're
And it's
doing.
hard.
Yeah, it is hard. So let's talk about, so we know how to perhaps set the stage and make sure that our kids are acting civilly and mindfully. But let's say our kids, I know my kids have, and your kids have, they make a mistake, right? They post something, they say something online that they regret, or even worse, in many cases, they're the victim of that. How do you support your child, whether they are the person that's not mindfully posting or the victim of someone who was posted about?
When I speak to the students, and I always say, I don't want you to be on either side.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be the one hurting someone, and I don't want you the one being one hurt or humiliated. So empowering yourself to, first of all, know who your tribe is, know who is your support team. Okay. When it happens, please speak to a trusted adult.
Right. Step one.
But the problem is they think their peers can handle this. Let's just say middle school, for example, which are really talk about a sandwich. That is a sandwich.
Yeah.
That's the sandwich part.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the meat of development. And they want to, and they build friendships, but their friendships are very different than ours. I could call up a friend of mine right now from elementary school, and it was like time never passed.
Right.
I built, I think not just me, our generation built those friendships because we were on our streets, we were talking, we were engaging, we built those emotional connections.
Sure. Face to face.
And they're deep. They're emotionally deep.
Yes.
This generation, because they are mostly communicating online, they still don't trust who their real friends are. And their real friends may make a mistake. So let's say something happens online and they tell their friend is going through their growing pains and may do something with that.
Right.
So that's they have to go to a trusted adult first.
Sure.
And a trusted adult should and can empower them to put that device away for the day, just the day, one day.
Take a break.
Take a break and ask them how it feels. The schools that are doing this have reported such positive things. Their lunchrooms, people are laughing. When I go to schools and pass a lunchroom and it's quiet, I want to scream.
Yes. Because they're all on their devices.
That is the only time. In a classroom, they have to pay attention and learn, right?
Yes.
Guess what? They're still on their devices.
Yeah, so we know they're not going back, right? In terms of the relationship building that we went through in our youth, I think in many ways that's gone. So we have to figure out ways for our kids to connect with the technology in the background in a more responsible way. So they are hurt, they tell a trusted adult, they take a break from the phone. What do you do as a parent? Do you call the other parent if there is a hurt between the two and it seems like it's not just a typical disagreement among kids where it's over their head? What's the threshold, Kate?
Well, see, this is really the tricky part of our generation, is that our parents didn't get involved and we gained very important skills.
Yes.
However, we also know that it wasn't a perfect world. So I never want to say that it's like, oh, our childhood it wasn't perfect.
Right. No rose-colored glasses here.
No. However, our children are missing skills in later life because of lack of exposure to many things. Feelings get hurt more. People are like, oh, they're so soft. They're so soft. I'm like, it's because they didn't have life experience.
Yeah.
We were on our street arguing the ball was fair from 6 years old.
True. True.
So now they're playing let's say they're playing video games, whatever. The rules are there. There's nothing to you either got the guy or you didn't, or you scored the goal or you didn't. There's no real ramifications for that stuff. So the problem lies is, where do parents intervene?
Yes. That's the question.
My personal opinion is, and I have gone to many schools and heard horror stories, horror,
I'll bet.
from suicides to cutting to horrible, horrible things that are happening to students who are suffering because they didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And I have also heard parents who have done all the right steps and it ended in tragedy.
Yes.
There is no right answer, one answer, but because of the delicate situation we are all in, I always err on just step in. You never know, again, how you parent is not how somebody else parents. How
Right.
they may get defensive, you may not, whatever it may be. If your child is in distress or having a trouble with another classmate, I call or email or say, please know this is coming from a loving place, parent to parent. Start with that.
Okay.
Arms down.
Yeah. No accusations.
No accusations. My child's really struggling right now, and I think it's best that your child deletes our number or contact from there so that we can move past this. If you want to discuss it further or try with your child, if you think we can mediate it, great. If not, let's just take a break from each other.
Yeah. That's great advice because there's no pointing fingers. It's no saying take a clean break. Because let's be honest, often our kids can say to us that they feel like they've been the victim of bullying or an unkind word has been passed about them, and they may have been a participant, right? And likely they were, right?
And everybody sells it from their point of view, as you know, as an attorney.
Yeah.
It's your point of view. And the point is, I don't want your kid to feel bad. I don't want, that's not true, because that's another piece of it, is our children are going to feel bad. But if your child is really feeling, you will know your child is down, they're withdrawn, the door's closed. All of those things are things we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing too, Katie, is that as parents, because they have their own devices, we are not privy to a lot of the communication. And so we're looking to their behavior for cues about what they're feeling, as opposed to hearing the telephone call in the kitchen for watching an argument out on the street. All of this is happening under the cover. And I also think schools too are in this really difficult position too, because these communications are happening on their devices, whether or not it's happening in school. And the schools are also trying to figure out a way to help the students. And so how do you involve the school, Kate?
This is where I get worried, because school is the place where all the kids are, right?
Yes.
So where it can be addressed, why I love going to schools, why I love speaking to teachers. Okay, this is how we can help them, right? However, because each state has different laws, and in our state, we have something called DASA, which means if someone does something online that is mean, hurtful, inappropriate, illegal, anything online, and it is brought to the school's attention, by law, they must address it. Okay, so now, Monday morning, a parent calls the school and says, look what's being said about my child all over social media.
Right.
Now the principal will have to get the school social worker, the psychologist, the child, any other child that's been part of it, and spend hours on who said what on Snapchat and Instagram. Your educational resources are being spent on this. Lots of time.
Wow, that's so true. That's interesting. So you have this school that has to involve itself by operation of law, which in many ways, thank God, right? Because there are parents savvy that don't necessarily know what's going on. The flip side of that is that they're usurping all of these resources
That are needed.
that could otherwise go to actually teaching our kids.
Right. And think about that. Think about being in a classroom and everybody in your school probably saw the post, or the majority of them, whatever it was. Now, Johnny goes down to the principal's office. Everybody in that building is on high alert.
Yes,
You think
absolutely.
they're learning? They're worried like, uh-oh, it's on my phone. Uh-oh, that you cannot learn when you are in a high state of anxiety, or you can't learn properly.
Absolutely true.
So that's the first thing that needs to happen.
Had such a ripple effect.
I'm writing another book right now, and I talk about the ripple effect of the many communities that I have gone to where a suicide has happened, and the ripple effect on a community. And unfortunately, they do say that it's like a copycat. Every child goes through difficult times. Every child.
Yes.
That's not an answer.
Right. Right. We can't prevent
And we
that.
can't let children think that that's an answer.
Yes.
If it gets better.
Isn't that like the universal advice, right? That you just have to hang on.
Right.
Yeah. And get
I'm
through it.
telling you, when I hear and listen and just try to really imagine what it is like, let's just say 7th grade child. Imagine being a 7th grade child, which is when everything starts changing. Who am I? What do I want to be? Who are my friends? And all you are inundated with is, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I don't fit in here. We didn't fit in everywhere. We didn't know.
Right. We weren't
That
exposed
was
to
a luxury.
Yes.
That was a luxury for these
Yeah.
kids. That's a luxury.
Yeah. Taking a step back and thinking about what your lessons are when we are imparting this wisdom to our kids to be responsible members of cyber society, taking a breath, taking a pause, thinking about how things make you feel, whether good or bad. And then if something does happen and you make a mistake, you have to go to an adult. That could be an adult in your household. It could be someone in your school. It could be a coach, right? There is always a way to make it better. And
There's
I guess
always
carry you
support.
through. Yes, there's always support.
Support and guidance there. I'm going to be starting this summer making educational videos that I'm trying to say, look, the reality is this is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So we have to find its place. We have to find its place.
Yeah.
And finally, things are getting to DC, and laws and policies will hopefully get in place. The reality is we have allowed children to be on apps that they are not ready for. We have allowed them to watch TikToks, to watch videos that are scary. So you have no control, just so parents know what the whole TikTok thing is about. Yes, I understand. I am using all social media to show how social media can be used for good.
That's ironic, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I use social media. I'm a grown up. Many companies use it for marketing and it's working, but they're grown ups.
Right. We have to figure out a way to impart the knowledge to our kids. And I think it sounds like
These apps took at least high school.
okay. That's it. So that's interesting. So
I think they should have to scan a license or a birth certificate or something in order to download it. Yes. Just like drinking. You think people don't steal other people's things and go buy yes, but there are laws in place. Right now, it's a free-for-all.
yeah,
Children are killing themselves.
the stakes are so high, Katie.
200% increase in suicide between 10 and 14-year-olds.
Wow.
That's insane.
It is insane. That is a scary statistic, and it's certainly a cautionary tale for
That
all
means
our
no
listeners.
social media till past that age.
Yeah. Yeah. That answers my question. And when you say, what's the appropriate age for a phone?
You could get a phone. We
Without
need to go
access.
back to it. We need, I know that the smartphones, but think about what you're giving your children access to. 2 years ago, I was in 3rd grade and I was talking, that's where I started, 3rd grade on. I'm like, let's start from the beginning. Some of their older brothers and sisters are on it. Let's start just educating them from the start, right?
Yes.
Before you click, pause before you post. If it's not kind, it doesn't belong online. All of these little catchphrases help, right? So when I went 2 years ago, and 80% of 3rd graders already have their own device and are on social media, TikTok especially.
Wow.
I'm saying you've given them complete internet access.
So that's 8 or 9 years old in 3rd grade. And so is that the sort of how
I got it right.
formed?
Each book.
Yeah.
And I said, if I could break it down, think about, I could go on and on, but I did a lot of research on early childhood. Children learn the most. Their brain grows and develops the most from 0 to 3.
Right.
How they learn first is through their eyes. They are seeing a generation of people like this. That is so scary to me. When I was in graduate school and I studied early childhood, we talked about children in orphanages and how they were more violent because they did not have the emotional connection. There wasn't enough staff, there wasn't enough holding, there wasn't enough coddling, there wasn't enough eye to eye, all of those things. Okay. So now a baby is saying, oh, people are holding these devices. They're very important. They're more important than the people in my presence. That's a very dangerous thing. Would you not do anything to go back to those baby years?
I know I would. Certainly on some days, I'll tell you, as parent of 3 teenagers, absolutely.
I'm like, just let me hold a baby.
So let me ask you, Bye Bye Wi-Fi is geared towards what age?
I would say toddlers through 2nd grade. And the whole premise of the book is it's the day the Wi-Fi went down, a storm knocks out the Wi-Fi, and the dad's working from home, so his computer gets shut down, and they find all the fun things they can do when the Wi-Fi goes down. Painting, cooking a meal together, playing tag, board games. Grandma and grandpa starts by and teaches them to tie-dye. And it's a rhythmic story where it keeps going, bye bye Wi-Fi, bye bye Wi-Fi. And at the end, the mom says, well, let's all remember there are always things to do and try, even when we do have Wi-Fi. So finding the balance from the beginning. When I speak to students, I am going to video it next time. I ask them, how many of you have ever been in the presence of an adult and they're on their device and you want their attention? You need to ask them something. And they say, okay, I hear you. I hear you. Go ahead. I hear you. I'm just scrolling or this.
I've done it.
Yeah, we all have. I said, how does it make you feel? Now I'm talking elementary through high school. Unimportant, invisible. They don't care.
Yeah.
Harsh words.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I said, listen, there are some times parents have to answer a call, look up, maybe they got their medical things that they're waiting for. Maybe they have to answer an email. But what we have to do as adults is say, you are important. Just give me a few seconds and let me answer this important email. The email's not more important to you, but they're waiting for a response, whatever it may be. But I also tell the children, you have every right to tell your parent or whomever and say, I'll wait till you're done. And if they continue and say, it's okay, I'm just looking, I'm just whatever, you could say, it's okay, I deserve your attention. Nicely and politely.
That's great advice.
The best thing you can give someone is their attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to do that when you're constantly on your phone.
And dinging. And what kind of relationships can they have? What kind of marriages can they have? What kind of friendships can they have when they are valuing their device over the people in their presence? Very lonely ones.
Absolutely. So, Katie, where can people get in touch with you? And are you still doing your roadshow and visiting with school districts?
I just went to the best conference with Hay House. I don't know if you know who Hay House publishers are. They're all the people I read, the Gabby Bernsteins, the Jamie Kern Limas. They're all positive people. What can we do to help the world wherever? We all can take a part. And by the way, we're all responsible for this. And we need all hands on deck.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah. You can find me at my website is don'tpresssend.com.
Okay. We'll leave a link for our listeners.
My children's book just came out right before the holidays, and that is byebywifibook.com.
Terrific.
My first book is Don't Press Send, A Mindful Approach to Social Media, Education, and Cyber Civics, which is basically my presentation in book form.
Okay.
I just read it again. Now, I published that 9 years ago. It's more relevant, and which was not my hope. My hope was not that it was going to be more relevant. That
That you'd be unemployed, that the
Yeah.
problem would be dealt with. And what about, you've cited so many great studies. Where can we find those citations for our listeners?
One, I write for medium.com. So I do a lot of that. I pull them out and I
Terrific.
make it more, okay, this is how this is accessible to children. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of them are also on my site. There's blogs and all kinds of information on there. And I present all over to schools, which is my favorite thing to do. And you can book me on the website or also katiedps@gmail.com.
Perfect, Katie.
Yeah.
This has been really enlightening and, if I'm honest, a little scary to think about.
No, it can't be scared because that's what's making people step back.
Yeah, we have to be involved.
Our kids need us. And
They
there's a
do.
line of kids 10 years later,
Yeah.
a line of kids waiting to ask me questions before they go back to class. How many people, they're like, okay, I'm out of here. It's boring.
Yeah, not many assemblies have
No.
line.
And it's not me. I'm validating their feelings. I'm so sorry this is your reality.
I think you've given us a lot to think about today, and certainly the takeaways about taking a breath and pausing, thinking about how you feel, and going to a trusted adult and reminding our kids to go to a trusted adult. So thank you so much for your time
You're
today,
quite
Katie.
welcome. Thank you for having me.